Have you ever wondered why some relationships that seemed unshakable, built on years of shared laughter and whispered secrets, suddenly begin to fray slowly, almost imperceptibly, until one day they simply unravel? It's a paradox, isn't it? We invest so much, pour our very souls into these connections, only to find them crumble, not in a spectacular explosion, but in a quiet, heartbreaking erosion. It's rarely the big arguments that do the lasting damage, rarely the dramatic betrayals. Often, it's something far more subtle, a creeping silence, a widening gap between two people who once stood so close. What invisible forces are at play here, beneath the surface of everyday life, slowly pulling us apart, even as we sleep in the same bed or share the same meal? Before we delve deeper into this labyrinth of human connection, this intricate dance of intimacy and distance, consider this. If this video reaches 10 likes and we grow to 500 subscribers, I will give you a powerful book for free, a book that can change your life, and with it, a special gift that only true seekers will value. Subscribe now and be part of the few who step into this journey. Perhaps one of the most insidious culprits is something psychologists call hedonic adaptation. It's a fancy term for a very human truth. We get used to everything, even the most wonderful things. Remember the thrill of the new relationship, the butterflies, the intense excitement of every touch, every conversation. It felt electric, didn't it? But over time, that initial spark, that novelty, it dims, not because the person changes or the love vanishes entirely, but because our brains, in their efficiency, adapt. The extraordinary becomes ordinary. The grand gestures, the thoughtful surprises, they become expected, or worse, unnoticed. This isn't a flaw in love itself, but a fundamental aspect of human perception. We chase novelty. We crave stimulus. And when the familiar settles in, we often stop seeing the magic. That's still there, waiting to be rediscovered. It's like living next to a breathtaking mountain view for years. Eventually, you just stop seeing it. It becomes part of the background. Think of the couple who stops complimenting each other, not out of malice, but out of habit. The little things, the daily affirmations, they fade away, replaced by a comfortable yet dangerous silence. The secure feeling of being known can inadvertently morph into being taken for granted. Because, well, they're always there, aren't they? And so, the emotional fuel tank slowly, steadily runs dry, without either partner even realizing it's happening, until the engine sputters. But hedonic adaptation alone doesn't tell the whole story. There's another subtle killer, a silent divider that often emerges after years. It's the phenomenon of divergent paths. We enter relationships as individuals, with our own dreams, our own desires, and over time, we continue to grow, to evolve, as we should. Life inevitably presents new experiences, new challenges, new insights that shape us, mold us into slightly different people. Year after year, the tricky part is, sometimes, these individual growth trajectories begin to angle away from each other, subtly at first. Perhaps one partner discovers a new passion, a demanding career path, a spiritual awakening, while the other remains content or pursues a different kind of growth, perhaps focusing on stability or family. These are not necessarily bad things. Growth is vital. But if these personal transformations aren't actively integrated into the shared narrative of the relationship, if they aren't understood, celebrated, or even just acknowledged, a chasm can form. Imagine a couple, once united by a shared vision of adventure and travel. 10 years later, one partner feels a strong pull towards building a quiet home life, rooted in community, while the other still dreams of backpacking across continents. Neither path is wrong. Both are valid expressions of human aspiration. But if these differing aspirations aren't openly discussed, if compromises aren't explored, if new shared goals aren't consciously forged, then the once perfectly aligned compasses now point in different directions. It's not about one person changing for the worse or the other standing still. It's about two individuals becoming more themselves, but those selves no longer fitting together as snugly as they once did. The intimacy that was once built on shared experiences, shared dreams, begins to feel strained because the foundation has shifted. The comfortable silence can turn into a lonely silence, filled with unspoken desires, unpursued ambitions, and a growing sense of being misunderstood, or simply no longer seen. This divergence isn't always dramatic. It can manifest in small ways. Different friend groups, conflicting schedules, hobbies that never overlap, until suddenly, two lives that were intricately woven together are now running parallel, touching only at the edges, or perhaps not touching at all. We often assume that love, once established, is a self-sustaining entity, but is it really? Or is it more like a garden, requiring constant tending, weeding, and conscious nourishment to ensure that two unique plants can still flourish beautifully side by side, even as they reach for their own individual suns? The question then becomes, how do we ensure that our growth, however individual, doesn't lead us irretrievably apart? What tools do we have? What wisdom can we find to bridge these ever-widening gaps? So perhaps the true challenge of long-term love isn't just about finding the right person, a soulmate perfectly aligned from the start, but rather about the ongoing, often arduous, yet profoundly beautiful work of continually choosing them, of actively seeing them, not as a fixed statue, but as an ever-changing, evolving landscape. It's about consciously nurturing a shared garden, even as individual trees strive for their own light. It demands a willingness to grow with them, to adapt to the shifting currents of life, to celebrate their personal triumphs, and tenderly hold their evolving fears. It's a continuous act of mutual creation, of rediscovery, where familiarity never becomes a reason for neglect, but an invitation for deeper understanding, a deeper exploration of the person you thought you knew so well. It asks us to consider if love is less of a destination reached and more of a journey, where the map is constantly redrawn by shared experiences, by unspoken needs, by the very passage of time itself. So, what do you truly believe? What are those subtle shifts, those whispered, unspoken truths that truly determine the fate of love after all those years? What's your own perspective on this intricate dance of connection and change?